Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode. Episode? Are these episodes? Do you call YouTube videos episodes? Yeah. Welcome back to another episode of Madden NFL 24's 2-a-day off-season preview episodes, videos, features. Today we're going to be talking about the Minnesota Vikings, so strap in and enjoy. If you look at the raw numbers, Minnesota's sitting pretty good salary cap wise. They have a projected $28 million available. However, Kirk Cousins is a free agent, Danielle Hunter is a free agent, and Justin Jefferson is due a monster extension. So there's a lot of questions to be answered there. Minnesota's top free agent is outside linebacker Danielle, don't call me Danielle, Hunter, rated 89 overall. So he's coming off a very successful 8-season run with the Vikings. He had 16.5 sacks last year, career high, 87.5 for his career. Even though he's going to be 30 years old during the season, he still should have a few good years left in the tank, and he's probably going to price himself out of Minnesota's price range. The Vikings' second-ranked free agent is quarterback Kirk Cousins, rated 84 overall. So somehow Cousins was only a Viking for 6 years. It seems like a lot longer than that. He's been in the NFL for 12 years. Other than Ryan Tannehill, he's the only quarterback out of that class to still be playing. So he's coming off a serious injury, but still very productive when healthy, and it's going to be a really tough decision for Minnesota. Do they want to re-sign him to one more giant contract or try to move on? So many teams out there need quarterbacks. Cousins is definitely going to get that one more big contract. He's still pretty productive, even though he's 35 years old. Minnesota's third-ranked free agent is 80 overall middle linebacker Jordan Hicks. The Vikings was the third team that Hicks played for, and he had a very successful 2-year stint in Minnesota, racking up over 100 tackles both years, getting some sacks and some interceptions as well. But he's 31 years old, and middle linebackers usually kind of bounce around the NFL unless they're just absolute studs. So he's probably not going to be a priority for Minnesota with so many other big-time decisions they have to make. Minnesota's top positional need is definitely quarterback. They have a huge decision to make with Kirk Cousins, as I said. Jaren Hall was a 5th-round pick last year, but he's already 25 years old, and he's definitely not starting material. The best they can hope for is he works his way into a backup role. There are not many free agents available. Minnesota's sitting in a spot where they could draft that second-tier quarterback if they choose, so this is definitely the decision to make for Vikings front office this year. Minnesota's second biggest need, and as far as Madden depth charts go, the biggest need, is outside linebacker. Hunter, DJ Wanham, Marcus Davenport, all free agents. The only guy on the actual active roster is Pat Jones, who has had 5 sacks in 3 seasons. I wasn't able to cut Davenport or Wanham yet on the roster because there's only one guy, so that's why they're still there. So yeah, no pass rushers whatsoever. Hunter will probably move on. That's a huge need. They're going to have to draft, sign, do whatever they can to get some bodies in there. This Vikings roster has a ton of holes. Cornerback is the third biggest need, and it's been a weak spot in Minnesota for years. They've drafted guys, none have really worked out. Byron Murphy's probably more of a CB2 or 3. They definitely need that alpha on the roster. They're in a good position to draft somebody if they choose, but with so many needs and so few picks, it's going to be really hard to build this roster up. The Vikings have so much to worry about with their own free agents and salary cap situation that they might have to go bargain bin hunting to round out the roster. Definitely should sign a couple of outside linebackers. Like I said, there's nobody on the team right now that could play snaps, really. Somebody like Bud Dupree, who's put together a decent long career, even though he was never quite the superstar people thought he would be. He could be a good fit, play a year or two in Minnesota, help some young guys. He can still get after the quarterback on occasion. Like I said, they just need bodies, so a guy like this shouldn't cost too much. If the Vikings insist on trying to get an 80 overall cornerback, because of course real general managers are very worried about how their teams are in Madden, somebody like Steven Nelson could be a good pick. He's 31 years old, a longtime veteran, has played for 4 teams, but might be coming off his best season playing for a really surprising Houston Texans team. He had 63 tackles and 4 interceptions and should be able to land one last decent payday. He would be a guy that would really help a young Minnesota secondary. If the Vikings do choose to move on from Kirk Cousins, they are definitely going to need at least a bridge quarterback. There's not many available. The top one is probably Gardner Minshew, who has shown he can't be a full-time starter, but can step in when needed and be at least semi-productive. Of course, with the Vikings, unless they draft a quarterback, he might be a starter for a year. So this could be a roster that somebody like him or Jacoby Brissett, who wants to start, could look towards. So although the Vikings were never really true contenders with Kirk Cousins, they had a pretty successful run. They had two 13-win seasons and even made the NFC Championship game one year. But this roster has gotten really old and there's holes all over the place. They have a huge decision to make. Do they want to try to run it back with Cousins and see what they have, or do they want to rebuild? Now, NFL teams usually don't do NBA-style tear-down tankathon rebuilds, but if they choose to go that route, they could probably get an unprecedented haul for Justin Jefferson in a trade. I'm talking 2 first-round draft picks, a quarterback type trade. That could really set Minnesota up for a big, successful rebuild. This roster has holes everywhere. It's old. Harrison Smith will probably be cut. There's not a lot to be excited about. Even if Cousins comes back, it's just a very mediocre roster that needs a lot of youth injected into it. So big decisions to make for Minnesota. This could be a team that either treads water or wins 3 games and is on the lookout for a new quarterback next year. So as far as the draft this year, they're in position to draft Bo Nix or JJ McCarthy, most likely. Do they want to do that, or do they want to see what they can do next year with a potential high draft pick? There's needs everywhere else. They have no pass rushers. Jared Verse could be sitting there for them. Cornerback is a huge need. Terrion Arnold, Kool-Aid McKinstry could be there. They need help at running back and defensive line. They basically need everything other than receivers. And that could be a need if they decide to move on from Justin Jefferson. I think they'll re-sign him because NFL teams usually don't completely bottom out like that, and Jefferson is the franchise player. But there's a lot of questions for the Vikings, and we'll have to see what they decide to do. So that's it for Minnesota. I hope you guys enjoyed this. You know what to do. Like and subscribe and tell your friends and all that stuff, or don't. I don't care. I'm not your father. Just watch this video and I hope you like it. All right, guys? Stay tuned for a lot more and I'll see you next time.